In this tech tip video, we'll be exploring how to configure layer presets in VertiGIS Studio Web and Desktop for ArcGIS Pro. Here we have a VertiGIS Studio Web app with some oil and gas data. We have upstream data that consists of oil and gas wells, midstream data showing pipeline-related information, and land data containing parcels, leases, and more. Here we have a few layer presets that have already been configured for us. This one turns on all the layers in the map. The upstream preset turns on both the upstream group layer and the land data group layer. And the midstream preset simply turns on the midstream group layer. Let's take a closer look at how this is set up within VertiGIS Studio Web. The layer presets component can be added from the components library. Users can choose to use icons or images for each layer preset. And users can also choose to enable filtering across the preset titles and descriptions. In addition, choosing whether to display the title or the icon within the component itself. Let's dive into the midstream layer preset to see how it's configured. Here we can see that upon selecting the midstream preset, all the layers are turned off except the midstream layer. Users can optionally choose to specify a base map for the layer preset. Here, let's select the imagery with labels base map. Users can then select an icon for the layer preset and write a description. When writing a description, an info button is displayed to the end user for them to see the text. Diving into the layer extension settings, users can modify numerous settings, including options for setting layer visualizations, layer list settings, and definition expressions. Here, let's write a SQL expression that only shows the anomalies where the anomaly type is equal to a dent. Now, when we select the midstream layer preset, we can see the changes immediately reflected in the map. Within VertiGIS Studio Desktop for ArcGIS Pro, users can also create layer presets for use within their ArcGIS Pro projects and VertiGIS Studio Web. This allows for a standardized approach to working with map layers across both desktop and WebGIS environments. Let's create a layer preset that shows work orders that are in progress. To do that, we'll first open the Query Manager within the VertiGIS Studio Toolkit for ArcGIS Pro to quickly find those work orders. The Query Manager allows users to efficiently run complex queries across multiple layers instead of digging through layer properties and manually turning definition queries on and off. Doing this across multiple layers can be very time intensive. In this case, we're using the Studio Query Manager and we only need to query across a single layer. In the Query Manager, we'll select Create, provide a name and summary of the query, and choose the storage and sharing properties. In this case, we'll save it to our ArcGIS portal so that we can reuse it in other VertiGIS Studio desktop projects. In the Query tab, we'll then set the Where clause to status equal to in progress. Then we'll check to see if our expression is valid and publish the query to our portal. Now we'll be able to see our query in the Query Manager, which is great for keeping your most commonly used queries. This is a much better alternative than manually digging through each layer's properties, which can be very time intensive across multiple layers. For example, I can quickly see all the wells within the El Dorado quadrant or wells deeper than 7,000 feet, or again, work orders in progress. Now that we have our definition query created for the work orders layer, let's create a layer preset via the Layer Presets Manager to isolate the work orders layer. We'll select Create and enter a name and summary. We'll then select Portal for the storage type since we want to be able to use this preset within our VertiGIS Studio Web application. And in the Layers tab, I can manually turn off all the other layers, or if my map already reflected the layer order I wanted, I could quickly select this Quick Start button to get the layer configuration from the table of contents. Here we'll include the land data, and now let's validate our preset and publish it to our portal. Let's test our newly created layer preset by turning on all our layers and disabling the work orders in progress definition query. Great, it works. Next, let's add our layer preset to our VertiGIS Studio Web application. Back in VertiGIS Studio Web, we'll select Add Layer Presets from Portal and choose our newly created layer preset. And here we can see that the definition query that we applied in Pro has been defined within our layer preset. Now, when we turn on our newly imported layer preset, we can see all the in-progress work orders. So that wraps up today's tech tip. Thanks for sticking with us. And if you found this helpful or learned something new, feel free to like, subscribe, and comment on what you learned below. If you'd like to give VertiGIS Studio a try, go to apps.vertigisstudio.com for a free 60-day trial. Thanks everyone for watching, and stay tuned for more VertiGIS tech tips.